Who was you were cast first?
Yes.
Of everyone.
Ravi was.
Yeah.
But I was only a guest star though on that.
Were you? Do you remember your audition?
Because I was still doing.
Well, you were a series regular.
Show
Gideon's Crossing, which my mother thought.
You were still doing Gideon's.
Yeah.
Crossing Jordan was for a while.
But I do remember the audition. And I thought I didn't do very well in the audition.
Yeah, me too. I had the
really
worst.
Like
it was like one of the worst auditions.
I felt like it was just wool and it was nothing, and so I was very surprised.
It was a long speech. Remember?
It was about based on the Roald Dahl novel.
Right. You remember?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. Geez. It was the worst audition I think I ever had in my entire career.
Are you serious?
Well, no, seriously. I went in for the first one, and it was great. The first meeting was great. And I went back and met Alan and Tim on the second one, walked in the room, and I worked with Tim on Providence. So he's like, hey, I worked with you on Providence. I felt a bit more confident. I felt a more, and then I read it. And then Alan said those words that were going to haunt me for like at least 3 seasons. Like, bring it down. Do less. Do less. Do less. And I think I did like 8 times. And by the 8th time, I was like, I'm inside. I'm just like, I don't know what else to do. I'm just like, oh, they hate me. They think I suck. I can't get this right.
Well, remember when we got a call about we had this character Lily, and NBC casting calls. Oh, there's this young actress. Everyone wants. She's fabulous. And we're going, yeah. Bring her in.
Listen.
So we come in, and do you remember it?
Yes, I was in Seattle visiting my in-laws when I got the audition, so I had to fly down specially for her. And I'd never been to LA before. And so my mother-in-law now is convinced that her fax machine, she holds all the credit for me getting this part because the sides came in her office fax machine, exactly. And I watched the pilot as like, research or whatever in my hotel the night before. And then I went in for the audition, and I was you and Dennis. And I had a ball. I loved it. I loved her because she was so quirky, and I wanted that part so freaking badly because I just thought it was fantastic, and it was only supposed to be like a recurring.
We're trying to not make the mistake of casting a person only because of what they had read with the one set aside. So we kept changing it up.
You wanted to
try it this way, try it that way. But when Kathryn read it the first time, I looked over at Dennis. He looked at me, and he did that classic Dennis thing like, why were you going any further? This person is right here. I think it's time to go. But then you were having so much fun, and you were, to say that Kathryn was green.
Oh my God.
It was like, so we just kept trying. Now, try it in Pig Latin.
I know, I did it. I was like, all right. No questions asked. Yes, Anne.
Try it with no clothes on.
And I was like, okay, listen.
I still have the pictures.
To my agents, exactly.
I still have the pictures.
So,
but that was kind of typical of the show, that the show adapted to who the people were.
When did you know that everyone was going to be a series regular? Did you wait through?
I think it was in the editing room. Every time we saw him, we laughed.
Yeah.
It was just seemed so right.
It just added to the group.
Yeah, and and you had the whole losing the butterfly eggs. In the pilot.
In the pilot.
And also, once we realized that you two guys had chemistry.
That chemistry was amazing.
That was exciting, I have to say.
Yeah.
Realizing that kind of comic duo.
I think the moment was when we were outside of Jordan's door in one of the episodes, and the boyfriend was in there. She opens the door, and we're both like listening at the door.
Was that your boyfriend?
No.
We heard you yelling.
And there's an arc in the first season of your infatuation with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how basically she's manipulating your character. And the end of the second
Nigel
season,
was totally in love with her.
Totally in love with Jordan. That's always
the whole
nice.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, we were never sure about his sexuality completely.
Right.
It's just like every character I've ever played, but it's okay.
We're talking about how the characters evolved from the first season to the end, and that first season, Lily was so quirky, really, really, really quirky. And I remember, I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody told me that if the character of Lily didn't work out, that they were going to do something where she would be caught in some sort of compromising position with a corpse. Did you ever hear that?
Yes, I did.
That was actually your idea.
And that was going to be the end of Lily.
We never actually did that storyline ever, did we?
No.
No, we had the guy who talked to the
Sex
corpses.
with a corpse. Yeah, we had the psychic guy, but we
never did necrophilia.
We never did necrophilia.
The musical. That was a very...
The other thing that's arcs throughout the season is everyone got more and more comfortable. We started doing longer and longer masters. There's a whole thing about who is going to be the best man at your wedding.
Oh my God, can you believe
Yes, I remember that walk and
talk.
Then
you get really upset that you're not the best man because you were asked to be the bride.
I was almost the bride. I think that gives me the inside track.
We never actually got married because
No,
Macy ended up
came in.
writing me a good report, so I didn't have to get married.
Loved that
You
whole
remember the
thing.
scene when we're sitting down and we're saying we need to know stuff about each
Yeah,
other?
that was very Randy.
It was really Randy, baby. I
Now
remember
tell them what happened in the original version.
the original version of
Yeah.
the scene. Well, part of it's in there, but the second part isn't. The original version is
She asked
Lily
you,
turns to Nigel and says,
How big is it?
what's your size? And I'm like, oh, I'm a 12 and a half. And you're like, no, your size. And I was like, oh, wow, you know.
12 and a half.
Am I going to get to see yours? And you're like, no.
So cute.
You hand me a Polaroid camera, and I turn my back to the camera, and you hear the But there was going to be a scene after that where you're like laying down the Polaroids, and they're really long. And I was like, keep it in, please.
Yeah, exactly. Please.
Did that end up in the episode?
No, it was so great.
I'm saying there's no room for to let it go, and you've been going for 35 days.
Stash.
you know, it's when we talk about it in the series, it's a whole, certain episodes, everything works.
Yeah.
Right.
And but you know, we'll go like Born to on the stripper episode where you had the big speech about coffee and where coffee came from.
Yes, and how, because my 401k was invested in Starbucks. I remember my character saying that.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd invested in Starbucks on that episode because
That was when we discovered that
Exactly.
Nigel was a great source of information. We got him all the Nigel notebooks.
the notebooks that were in the folder that followed me around everywhere.
All the
Like,
covers of the notebooks
Yes.
were based on how I did my notebooks for episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
But that Born to Run episode, wasn't that the one with the stripper?
That's the stripper one.
Because that was my bone in the entire show, pardon the expression, but I just, like, whenever there was, well, it's true, but whenever there was a scene with, like, kinky sex or porn or strip clubs, I was never in it.
What about Pimps
But I
and
never
Hoes?
go
I was the only character who didn't get
Did you
laid
go
the
to the
entire
strip
6 years.
No, you didn't get to go
Yeah,
to strip
so
club.
much action.
You
I
went to
got no
strip club
action.
with
You didn't
Mahershala
get any
Spas.
action.
That's right.
I
I mean,
forget
that was
when they
what's amazing about
splattered
the
us
show
with
was the
that stuff.
tone of our show it would go into something very serious and then it'd go into this humor which was just so out
I
there.
know.
It
All
was
the
such a
time.
high wire act.
Yeah.
In terms of
We
balancing some
balanced
of the
it, and I think that in the
stories.
first season, wasn't that like a lot of the meetings that you guys would have would be tone meetings? It's like how far are we going to go?
Oh, yeah.
Because it was always like,
Tone
Steve.
meetings. That was a new
See, a little
vocabulary.
less. Well, like when you guys discovered the guy with the wire in his penis.
Right.
Yes, I remember that. That was a great line, though. It was like, oh my God, he plugged himself in.
The first season, it seemed like the show itself was a little bit of an underdog, so we were able to take these great risks, because at the same time, there's never going to be the CSI because we had so much
character.
character.
That was always the tension
humanity.
to what we wanted. We saw the show as Northern Exposure of St. Elsewhere.
Right.
And we were supposed to be doing Law and Order.
Right.
You know, that was like the
That was
assignment.
the battle,
That
right?
was always the
That was always the
battle.
battle, and you could see, you could tell when it started.
As the show
in the-
progressed, you could
right,
tell when it became more
when it
on
kind of when it got dead and then came alive again, and when it.
But when you go back and you look at the episodes now, which I did to prepare, and you know, something.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
all I see those character scenes, and I
know.
said, "This is the reason we were a hit. This is the
Yeah.
reason we were on the
That's
air
what people
for
fell
100
in
Remember,
love
we
with.
got, as the three of us, you, me, and Mahershala Hashbaz,
Yeah.
we got pressed as being like the three geeks in the morgue. People were really into the idea of the three geeky guys.
Yeah.
And
Your husband had the same birthday as Elvis Presley.
He staged his own death.
People believe in all sorts of things, and it's that belief that makes them real.
Yeah, because it
which is one of my
always-
favorite episodes.
Yeah,
So
that
beautiful.
was really a turning
So I
point.
remember that now it was so spiritual and philosophical.
Yeah.
And like you say, in terms of Tim throwing down
Yeah.
the gauntlet of saying, this is what our show is about.
Yeah.
Right.
And that first, I remember that one, because
Yeah.
it was really
loved
looking
it.
at
And
the
then
bigger picture.
That episode was the rules there were no rules. Like it just seemed like anything could go, and the world was kind of just busted open.
Yeah.
I had a feeling when I was watching that, actually, the other day when I was rewatching it, that at that very last scene when we're all up on the, you know, Macy steals the kiss,
Oh my God!
and there's just a moment where we're all standing there, and it kind of felt like a, this is the cast kind of moment.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, okay, because there was a lot of experimentation at that point,
Yeah.
who's coming and going, and it was like, this is the cast.
They look so innocent, don't they?
so I think we should also give a little props to Natalie
Natalie Hart and Jason
Lapadura
Lapadura.
and Carrie Owen.
Thank you for
For bringing us
facilitating
in,
our
our auditions. And
casting in this series. Exactly, and
And
they
the-
found such great, really, really quirky and fantastic
Yeah,
guest
week
actors.
in, week out.
They
Yeah.
found great people, didn't they? Like the episode with the kinky sex thing, where the guy,
Yeah.
the Dirty Boy 23 or whatever his
Yeah.
name was, and the guy was so scary. Like
Yeah.
throws Jill against the wall. And,
Yeah, she had to get
Really
beat
good
up
actor.
a lot in that first.
Especially at the season one, she was like
Cried, beat up, but then she
emotionally
got to
exhausted,
sing.
I'm sure.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But that's the fun thing. You get a communication with everyone. You kind of know everyone's, what's going on, and you sort of all do it together. There's a team spirit
Yeah.
in the series. You hear people talk about on basketball teams or football teams. Go, I miss the guys, meaning I miss that spirit in the locker room, and you hear that in bands.
And I do. I miss that. And not every show is like that. But on our show, I don't think we really ever. We never had a. I don't think we ever had a disagreement between us in 6 years. Not face to face.
I'm gonna get it on the table now, Steve.
I don't want to hear it. But,
no, but we didn't. But
But
you're
no,
right.
we all got along really well, and we actually enjoyed each other. We enjoyed hanging out with each other on set. And
But also, we in the office we had a term. We used to go like this. Some big problem would come on. We all look at it. We go like this. Which that meant we're all rowed together here, and that would resolve it. We'd say, okay, how are we going to fit this now in 8
God, I want
days?
to start using that with my son.
And it was a conscious effort to not have divisions on the show.
But I have to say, over the period of the show, I think that came down from Tim and from you guys at the above. There was like a great vibe that came down. Because it has to trickle down from above.
It does.
Yeah. It's to trickle down from you, and it came from Jill, and it came from everybody else that we worked with. There was a really good vibe, and I think a lot of that came from the production office.
And I think we always, I remember in terms of when the guest actors came onto the show, I think there was always such a conscious effort to really make them feel welcome as well. Which is one of the things I'm most proud of.
Me
In
too.
terms of when I bump into those actors again, they say, you know what, you guys were fantastic.
Yeah.
You were so nice to us.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I know, but God, starting after I was a grief counselor, I had to like every day basically sit opposite another guest actor. I had to have like a huge emotional breakdown, and that was it was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so glad it's not me. And they would just to come in and have like 2 days, and amazing.
Well, sometimes also once we got the patterns, and I would talk to whoever our DP was at the time, and we'd sometimes design those scenes to get one of your reactions. Often was you and the grief person in the same crossing
so
cameras, and you'd light it so that something spontaneous happened. You have it, and you wouldn't have to try to recreate it.
It also frees you up as an actor because you know that you're not going to have to duplicate it on the next take, so you kind of feel freer to just improvise and do what you want.
That was the fun thing about doing the oneers also.
Right.
Doing the shots.
The walk and talk.
And we had such a great Steadicam operator, so we'd start the scene, we'd come in on, and you guys, and we'd rock to the side to get this part of it, which is more important for this actor, and rock to the side for the other part.
Exactly.
My favorite thing that you always used to say was freedom take, because that basically meant we could improvise or do whatever we wanted to do, and I always looked forward to the freedom takes.
Me too.
And the weird thing is that you may be working on your lines a lot and you can't get it right and you're doing it, but when you hear freedom take and you have the freedom not to be accurate on your lines, suddenly you're accurate on your lines.
And even the acting itself, it was never that kind of straight up CSI standard American television acting where it's just that minimalism. Everybody was we had such hams in our.
And it wasn't like one of those perfectly polished, gorgeous. Not that we're not gorgeous people, we are. But it wasn't like like camera. But I can't just. It was like such a bunch of ragamuffins. Like
one of the weirdest things is, as crazy as our characters seem to be in some ways. I don't know about you, but so many people will come up to me and say, "I know people I work with people just like you, or you're just like my brother, or It's because people are bigger than life. People in workplaces. I mean, look at the people we actually worked with that were in the crew and in the production office that were bigger personalities than we did on camera. It's like that is real.
The right leg you found.
Well, that's what we decided last conference we had, but it was only
So I'm just thinking I'm not dictating.
Listen, we need somebody at the morgue with a kind face to deal with people in grief. I want you to stay, Lily.
Oh yeah, trivia on the final episode of Crossing Jordan at the end of the first season. You're getting on the bus, and there's a row of people getting on the bus, and if I'm right, those extras were all dead bodies from the entire first season, right?
So
getting on the bus, which was like
everyone online is so when you go back and you look at this TV, you can find everyone there.
So
very
smart.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
I wish
so
there were a lot.
The line is
so.
full of dead strippers, people rob banks,
So many people will come up to me, like celebrity friends of mine, will be like, I want to play a dead body on your show. Everybody just wanted to be a dead body on the show.
And I was like, listen, it's a lot of work, Dad. Not all glamour.
It's not all it's cut out to be. It really isn't.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming back.
Oh my God!
Great to reminisce. It feels like it was so long ago.
You guys.
So we'll be here all week.
Right, exactly. Enjoy it.
We're going to continue reminiscing.